swinging the club head. We've heard it for centuries and it seems like such a good idea. And you know what? It is a great idea if you properly understand what it is you're trying to do. I'm Lynn Blake, and on this beautiful fall morning here at the golf club at Cuscowilla on beautiful Lake Oconee in Eatonton, Georgia, we're going to explore this whole idea of swing the club head, what it really means, what rhythm truly is, not how fast or how slow you swing, not how pretty you look, but how effective you are at moving the golf club through the golf ball. Properly understood, the mechanics that you're going to learn in the next few minutes, and trust me, you will learn them. They'll be far different from most of everything you've ever heard in golf. But once you do understand them, they're going to take you to the next level of your best golf. So this whole idea of swinging the club head seems so simple, and that's part of its appeal. It seems so simple, and at the end of the day, it is simple. The problem is the whole definition. We do not swing the club head. We swing the hands. That's different. See, you guys spend your time on the tee and on the fairways swinging the club head. You think that's swinging the club head. That is not swinging the club head. This is swinging the club head. The left arm, the left hand, the club shaft, the club face, all going through the ball together. But you're doing this. And what's wrong with that? You destroy rhythm. Now, in our definition of rhythm, everything goes around a center together. For example, a merry-go-round. You have an axis and you have an inside horse and an outside horse. They both stop and start at the same time. Their revolutions per minute are the same. Now, the outside horse has a bigger circle, so in miles per hour, he has to go faster. But they start and they stop together. In golf, the club head is your outside horse. Your hands are your inside horse. The club head, being located down here, moves about 5 times as fast as the hands. One more reason to watch the hands. So if you got a club head moving 100 miles an hour, your hands are moving 20 miles an hour, but they are going around together. Unless you do what? Unless you bend your wrist. So now we're starting to get an insight into 2 very important ideas. Namely, that the club head, shaft, hand, arm, all go around together. No portion of this assembly of the club shaft and arm is allowed to swing forward independent of the other. We know then that the bad guy is a bending wrist, a horizontal motion. Well, how in the world do we get the club around? We now know that the key is rotational motion that does not allow the left wrist to bend. And this is the key to power then. In addition to rhythm through the ball, we've got to have power, which is an uncocking of the left wrist and a rolling of the left hand. Okay, you now have a very important intellectual understanding of the problem. And that's first. Get the right concept, okay? But there's a problem. Your hands, so far, haven't learned a thing. And I know this because I've taught literally thousands of golfers. And you're going to be standing there just like you don't even believe it. And I'll come up and I'll say, look at this. And you say, oh my gosh, I'm bending my wrist. Some of you, you have to actually go on a video to see that. But comes the dawn at some point that this has to keep moving. But how do you do that? I have found a wonderful way to simplify this whole problem for you. Let me show you what it is. You know, I enjoy getting a lot of offers over the phone these days, offers to try out this piece of equipment or that piece of equipment. Normally, they don't make it much past the round file. This one's different. You can see I've strapped this to my arm, and you say, well, what's the big deal about that? The big deal about that is this. Now I have an extension of my left arm. And if I take my club head here, and if I keep it behind this clown's nose here, I have a chance of establishing true rhythm. Now, you've all seen these devices that you put on your left wrist to keep it from bending. You've seen all these devices that you keep on your right wrist to keep it from flattening. The problem is they don't work. The ones that go on the left wrist, there's plenty of 1 millimeter past this condition, which we call flat, not bent and not arched. And you are into throwaway. The club has passed the hands and rhythm is gone. At the same time, over here, you've seen these things that go on the right hand. They got your right wrist bent back 90 degrees. Trust me, that is not the way you're going to go through impact. If you do, your left wrist is going to be bowed like that. So the devices on your left wrist and on your right wrist, I call them don't do devices. Don't do this and don't do that. Don't bend, don't flatten. All right, so let's take a look at this particular device, which is not a don't-do device, it's a to-do device. And the to-do here, the to-do is to keep that club head behind that clown's nose. And if you do that, you will have rhythm. Now I got to tell you, when guys first put it on, they'll get there and they'll come into here and they'll see this. Now, how in the world do they keep that club head from going ahead of that clown's nose? They can't do it. And you'll almost see the wheels burning and churning. And then finally comes the dawn that it's not so much about moving the club head, it's about moving the clown's nose. And to move the clown's nose, you have to move the hands. So now we're into swinging the hands. And if there is a simplification in golf, it's just that. Swing the hands, not the club head. You swing the hands, don't you worry, that club head's going along. So as you can see, I think very highly of this device. And the reason I do is because, well, number one, it's a positive device. It's not about don't bend your wrist and don't flatten your wrist. It's a to-do device. Do this. Keep that club head behind the clown's nose. That will keep the shaft and left arm together, and that's really important. Beyond that, it's the quickest way I've found to get the message from your mind and into your hands. You know the old saying, I hear and I forget, I see and I remember, I do and I know. In just a very few minutes with this device, which we call the TALY Mindset, you will find yourself swinging your hands and achieving, probably for the first time in your life, true rhythm in the golf stroke. Now I'd like to take this opportunity to introduce you to its inventor, all the way from Los Angeles, California, TALY Williams. TALY.
Hi Lynn, how you doing?
Good to see you. You've been introduced a few times the same way, maybe running onto a football field, huh?
Yeah, back in the day, playing some professional football, and I appreciate the introduction.
Well, good. You get tired of getting knocked around?
Absolutely. Yeah, 2 or 3 years of that is enough, so it's good to actually switch into something with a lot less contact.
Well, yeah, well, there's plenty of contact here. It's just you're not the one being contacted. It's that golf ball. And I know you can do a lot of damage to that golf ball as well. I've seen you in action. 300-yard drives are nothing of any consequence to you. And you know, a lot of great athletes, they have been able to do everything their entire life. And they come to golf and they're just like the rest of us. And you know, if they do make contact, yeah, it goes because of their innate athletic ability. But since most of them never master this idea of rhythm, they are doomed to a frustrating, infuriating form of exertion. They have learned to straighten their right arm, but they've also learned to flatten their wrist, and nobody's ever told that right wrist to stop doing that or given them a way to do that, and your device does that. Your device does that. Did you struggle before you invented it?
Absolutely. You know, I used to shoot those high 90s, you know, go to celebrity golf tournaments and whatnot, but yeah, once actually you start learning those alignments and, you know, keeping the club head behind that red ball, or the clown's nose as you call it.
Yeah, that's the clown's nose to me. Maybe the red ball to you.
My scores did start coming down, so it's super.
So there's a mechanical idea involved here, guys and gals, and that's what you've seen. You must go through together. The ball respects that. It matters not your talent. Nothing matters unless you can do that. And every stroke's a test.
Absolutely. And one other thing we like about this, Lynn, is actually when you take the TALY off, the red ball becomes a mental reference point. So actually when you're on the course, that's one of the difficult things, is to transfer your game from the range to the course, as you know.
The longest walk.
Absolutely. And so now when you're on the course, actually you'll have a mental image of that red ball, of the clown's nose, you know, and you can take your game out there and shoot better scores.
Now I would say I spend approximately at least 80% of the time using this on and around the greens with students. But you do pretty, but I have had world-class instructors here at Cuscahuilla, I mean Ryder Cup type instructors, who I can't get it off their arm once they start it. They're drilling out 3-woods and drivers. Now, you've been known to do a little of that, huh?
Absolutely.
Well, why don't you give us a demo of that? All right, TALY, got your driver?
Absolutely.
Great. Well, I already got it teed up for you. Now, I got to warn you, we've got 340 yards to the end of the range, so we've asked everybody to move left.
All right, super.
So have a go at it. Doggies.
Ooh, all right.
And that is called trusting your talent. So as you can see, the TALY mindset works in the hands of the inventor. More importantly, it will work in your hands. I get it in the hands of my students. I see the results every day on the tee. It shortcuts this process from mind to hands like you wouldn't believe. But there is a way to believe it, and that's to buy it, use it, experience the magic of, for the first time, having true rhythm in your golf stroke. Go to lynnblakegolf.com and get yours today.